got a new edition with new, restored, improved picture, 4K and all that, and all the special features of an old movie. It happened one night. Frank Capra directing 1934, which is sort of the grand old romantic comedy, setting the stage for many more to come. The first is also the first movie that won all the major Academy Awards. It's a movie about two people who meet, as in many romantic comedies, and don't like one another very much at first. But they have to be together for some reason. In this case, Claudette Colbert's character needs Clark Gable to help her get where she's going, where she wants to meet the man she thinks she wants to live with forever, marry. And they travel along together. Of course, in the end, they fall in love. They're the ones that get married. Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert, their characters. But during their travel, they have to stay in motels. And since they're so short on money, they have to share a room, which is, oh my goodness, especially she is very upset about that idea. But Clark Gable strings a rope across the room and puts a blanket or two over it and says, "This is the wall of Jericho, which will protect you and keep you safe. Don't worry." And in the final scene of the movie, when they have gotten married finally, they send someone out to get them a toy trumpet and blow the trumpet and tear the wall down. The walls of Jericho have fallen down. Well, of course, when I was a child, we learned the black spiritual that was based upon that story of Joshua leading the people across the Jordan River and blowing the trumpets, and the walls of Jericho fell down to enable the people of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, to enter the promised land and take it as their land. Joshua hit the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. Well, I guess in 1934 they could have expected that everyone would recognize that famous story, which kids learned in Sunday school, or wherever. I learned it in Catholic school. Perhaps today not everyone would resonate with that theme, but I thought it was wonderful the way Frank Capra used it in that movie. Well, Robert Briskin was the writer. They worked together on many great movies. That entering into the promised land is the culmination of the story that begins with Abraham, as the second reading says, going forth from his homeland, which was to the north of Israel, in an ancient center of civilization. He leaves that behind and journeys on the basis of God's call, God's challenge, God's invitation, knowing not where the journey would lead or how the promise could be fulfilled, that he would be the father of a great nation which would possess the land of Israel. Abraham in the second reading is presented as a model of faith. God said, "Trust me," and Abraham trusted. Not always perfectly, actually. It's not always presented in the Bible as a saint, but he did believe, and God used him as the beginning of salvation history. The first reading takes us back to a later stage when Abraham's descendants had become slaves in the land of Egypt, but they are about to be delivered, and they celebrate the Passover celebration in anticipation of their journey from slavery to freedom, from Egyptian slavery to the promised land. The Jews, of course, still celebrate Passover every year to celebrate that event. And once again, we have the Israelites setting out in faith. They weren't always faithful by any means. The movie The Ten Commandments, the famous movie by Cecil B. DeMille, presents very clearly the many times they doubted God and grumbled, murmured, were unfaithful. But they did finally enter the promised land when Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, blew the trumpet and the walls came tumbling down. And Christians through the centuries have seen that story as our story, our journey toward a place we have not seen. But we trust God's word and God's grace to lead us there. Many hymns have presented the crossing of the Jordan River, which preceded the Battle of Jericho, as a symbol of our crossing over from this world into a better world, which we call heaven. Black spirituals have celebrated that, but there's also plenty of white spirituals. But among the black spirituals are Michael rowed the boat ashore, which imagines crossing the Jordan River in a boat piloted by Michael, the Archangel Michael, I guess. Or Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, which imagines a better way of getting over, a flying chariot, based upon the story of Elijah going to heaven in a fiery chariot. And then there's Deep River, which says, River Jordan is deep and wide. Well, today it's not very deep and not very wide. All the water gets used. There's not enough left. We are invited to trust in our God to lead us through this life and even over the ending of life to a better place as the Israelites marched through the desert, crossed the Jordan, and entered the land flowing with milk and honey. And how are we to get there? Jesus said last week, though he implied at least, don't be like the rich fool who had a great harvest and thought, oh my goodness, now I got it made for years to come, but I need to build bigger barns to store all my stuff so that I can enjoy an easy life, eat and drink and be merry. And the Lord said, you fool, this very night will be demanded of you. So what should that man have done? Today's gospel, I read the short form, which is actually the conclusion of the section begun by last week's gospel. Jesus says, sell what you have and give alms. Ooh, boy, that's a challenge. Yes, of course, we're not going to sell everything, but we are invited to give generously. That was one of the questions posed by the musician doing the introduction to Mass. What can we do without so as to help others? When I approached last week's gospel, I had in mind, having just read the fact that the founder of Amazon and his wife had reached a divorce settlement, and the wife is going to get 4% of the stock in Amazon, which is worth today about $37 billion. And she said she was going to give half to charity. Oh my goodness, that is so generous. Then she'll only have $18.5 billion to live on. Well, I imagine I can manage with $18.5 billion. As it is, I'm sort of said, I'm John Hawkins from the Croziers in Onamia. There we share all our income and expenses, so I'm not on my own. But if I were on my own, I could get by an $18.5 billion, I guess. Well, there is one gospel story story coming up later this year where Jesus is satisfied with a man who offers 50%. That's the rich tax collector of Jericho, Zacchaeus. The short guy who was too short to see over the crowd. He wanted to see Jesus, so he climbed a tree. Jesus looks up into the tree and says, "Come down, Zacchaeus, I'm going to your house today." The crowd was scandalized. He would go to a man that they despise. But Zacchaeus says, "Lord, I give half my belongings to the poor." And Jesus says, "Today salvation has come to this house, to his house." Well, Zacchaeus could give 50%, and the Lord blessed him. Now, I might imagine that perhaps if the Lord had come back a year later, actually he died not long after that, Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, where things turned out badly, or beautifully in terms of the resurrection, but badly in terms of crucifixion. If Jesus could have come back a year later, he said, "Oh, Zacchaeus, I see you're still pretty plush here. You've had quite a bit. Maybe you could give another 50% of what's left." But that's just, we don't know. The Lord challenges us to think seriously what we can do. Sell what you have and give alms. Well, don't sell everything. You have to live. But the Lord invites us to journey together as a people, supporting and helping one another, giving generously, loving fully, sharing ourselves with those in need. I mean, some people need food, some people need care, love, smiles, help in homework or something. We journey on, people of faith. We walk by faith and not by sight. We have not seen the land we journey to, the land of heaven. But the Lord has called us, and we follow in faith, walking with one another in love.